Get 5 coffins ready.
Is Need for Speed Unbound worth your time? Yes. Is Unbound the best Need for Speed in the current era? Yes. Is Unbound the best Need for Speed in over 10 years? Yes. Is Unbound worth full price? Yes. Finally, there's a Need for Speed game without a big asterisk at the end of the title. But let's get into why, starting with the boring stuff. Visuals, they're perfect. Okay. It's not the best looking game in all of human history or anything, but it's very obviously a step up from the prior titles, at times even rivaling 2015's photorealism. No heat, graininess, or that god-awful TAA ghosting that was all over the past 3 games. Frame rate isn't exceedingly good, but even medium settings are nothing to scoff at visually. So with the aid of plenty of sharpening techniques, 60 FPS should be attainable on a wide variety of systems with still excellent visual quality. Audio is the same sort of story. Tire screeches don't quite have the bite that I'd like to hear, but engine notes are varied and, as always in Need for Speed, are stellar. They seem to have added a sort of baseline to the entirety of the cast of engines, and this helps a lot of the higher pitched ones like V10s, V12s, and rotary engines, giving them a smoother tone to them instead of just wailing. Obviously it's not like that in real life, trust me, I know, but damn do they ever sound cool. On the note of sound, I'm hilarious by the way, comes music, and yes, this soundtrack is finally a good one. I like just about every track here, and there's a good mix of recognizable faces as well as lesser known ones. One of the best things Payback did was include international music, most of it not even in English, and it really helps flesh out the soundtrack with great music without EA having to break the bank on a more star-studded track list. But still, there's Danny Brown, Clipping, Charlie XCX, Rico Nasty, Run the Jewels, ASAP Ferg, and of course Rocky 2. And I've already got a few international songs that I've never heard of that are on my playlist now. Back to cars though, the exhaust tuning is back too and lets you fiddle to your heart's content, and this time around there's a few more custom exhaust notes, which naturally brings me to the car customization itself. It's as good as it's ever been in this era of Need for Speed, and while there's not too much here that we haven't seen before, they've only added to it since 2015, so there's really no room for complaints. That does lead me into the now infamous smoke effects on the cars in the game, which you cannot turn off. You can go for a far less flashy version of the smoke, but yeah, the smoke effects are here, and the little emotes as well as exploding colors around the car when you jump, nitrous, etc., it's all still there. The rest of the game largely shares this type of aesthetic, so if you don't like the vibe, maybe turn around. From the wings popping out of the side of your car while you jump to the cel-shaded character models, this game is very much taking its own style and sticking to it. And while it's not my all-time favorite style, I'm glad they stuck with it and went all in instead of just putting a dash of this style here and a bit of that style there, like they did with a bunch of the prior entries. On the whole, I think it's for the game's benefit that they can just properly stick out instead of just being known as Forza Horizon with better car customization. On the note of, well, tone, let's talk about the story real quick. So there is a story here, and it's the best Need for Speed story in a very long time. Heats wasn't bad, but it was definitely over-dramatized. And while you may not like the characters in this game's stories, they do still feel like actual people, at least as close as you can get in a game like Need for Speed. It's a basic revenge plot, but it's got a few twists and turns in there to keep you invested. Again, nothing stellar, but it's more than enough to keep you going. That said, they didn't need a great story because the progression in this game is absolutely excellent. The main story is broken up into 4 weeks. All 7 days are accounted for, and each day contains a day and a night. Day and night both have different events and progress the story along, and while you're out and about completing events and doing side events, you build up a bit of heat on yourself, and yes, like in Rivals before it, if you get busted, you lose all of your money that you've earned in that particular day or night. Nighttime offers more explosive events, but whatever heat you accrued from the daytime in that particular day will be transferred over to the night. So while you can bank the money from the daytime, that heat will still remain on you until the night is complete, making the nighttime complete mayhem of avoiding police and escaping pursuits while trying to get more and more high value events, just so long as you don't go ahead and lose it all. This is the perfect merging of the past 4 Need for Speed games, a common theme with this game. The progression is not only addicting, but also allows you to do things at your own pace and take your own risks. While you do have to do some side events to progress the story, the main events are all yours to deliberate between, so no two people's Unbound journey are going to be the same. Just as ingenious as the flexible progression is a simplified Autolog system like from Rivals. Now it's just boiled down to 2 simple buttons, show the next event or show me where the safe house is. Boom, there it is. That's all we ever needed from Autolog, and I'm so glad it's such a simple system. The game even helpfully shows you the nearest relevant event after you complete a race. Like, it's such a simple idea, but it just makes the gameplay so much smoother not having to whip out the map after every single event. Well, chances are that after that event you'll have some heat on you, so you have to deal with the cops while traveling, and I'd say the cops on this game are pretty good but not great. While you're in a chase, the cops are good. The units are varied and, other than the strongest class, have very clear weaknesses to exploit. Plus the nail-binding reinforcement system for Most Wanted is back, so that covers good chases. But in general, I found the cops way too easy to just blow past once I got an A+ class vehicle. Like, you can just zoom right past them, but they don't even notice you unless you're in the upper echelons of the heat levels. And kind of funny, kind of sad, you could just ram full speed into the back of any ranked cop car and they will die instantly and you won't be spotted in any way, shape, or form. So for a lot of the game, once I got into the faster vehicles, I'm just zooming around the streets, smashing into cops over and over and over again. It's a bit too exploitable, but it's something that could be tweaked later, just like your cars. Upgrading your vehicles is again a very simple affair. You've got your low tier cheap parts and your high tier expensive parts. You can still do the engine swaps, which is cool, and things like off-road and drift tires are still available. Most certainly far from anything brave and exciting, but it's one of those systems that's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. A bit like the car list. There are a few new cars this time around, but to be honest, there's not too much going on here that we haven't been seeing since Payback. Still though, they're filling out the low, middle, and high tiers with new cars, and that's always welcome. It'd be a shame just to have only new expensive cars. There's still plenty of older models that would be welcome to the franchise. Although I have to say, I would have liked to see at least 10 more cars from both present and the past. Alright, but how's the driving in this driving game? Well, it's Need for Speed. So drift a little bit more, and that's your lot. Drifting is very obviously the default handling model in this game, but unlike the past few games, standard grip handling is fully supported too. Now they kind of go overboard with this because if you do a clean grip turn, they will give you a whole NOS charge, whereas a perfect drift will almost never give you a full charge. But it's still nice to see it finally be supported and not just have every last car be a driftmobile. Well, speaking of that NOS, the NOS system is a little different this time around. You charge NOS with the normal stuff, oncoming traffic and the like, but the more skill-intensive moves like near misses, drifting, holding fast corners, and drafting for some reason, will give you those aforementioned NOS charges with a little extra boost. It's a really cool system, and even though the game is a little too enthusiastic when you hit a good grip turn, it's something that they can easily tweak in the future, just like tweaking your handling on the fly. I know the system's been around since Payback, but yet again, they've done nothing but improve it to the point that you can really make any car do anything. It's excellent. A little less excellent is the endgame. It's a pretty average fare. The 4 weeks of story was a great experience, so don't rush it. The endgame is just kind of those dull filler days with not many surprises over and over again. Don't get me wrong, I stand by that day-night loop being a great idea, but once the story ends, it stopped blowing my socks off and just kind of became the norm. A better norm than past titles, for sure. But that does lead me into my final worry about the game. I love this game, I really do, but I am a little worried about where the franchise is going to go from here. I really do believe that this is the best the current Need for Speed formula can achieve. Again, a few tidbits here and there, some new cars, number tweaking, etc., maybe a cooler map, but what can they do from here that hasn't already been done in Unbound? Sure, the game isn't a 10 out of 10 perfect game, but it's pretty close when you consider that it's basically using the same formula as Payback. So I think they're going to have to get even more ambitious with the next Need for Speed if they want to keep the franchise sticking out. But that's later. For now, Unbound stands out as a flashy and fun, highly customizable, and most of all engrossing experience, exceeding in every aspect far more than any game in the series prior, and to be honest, better than Forza Horizon 5 in a lot of ways too. So is it really worth $70? Well, that's up to you. It's sad to see the industry standard go up to $70 when games were already a pretty eye-watering $60 a pop. But since $70 is considered the standard, I gotta say yeah, this is a racing game that really is worth full price. Well, that's just me. What do you guys think of Need for Speed Unbound? Let me know, and thanks for watching.